Okay, so this video might be a little bit longer than the other ones, and I might have to split into two parts. So what we're going to be looking at next week, or maybe this week, depending on what period you're in, we're going to be making a project that calculates very complicated areas. So we're going to be using Google Sheets. I'm going to have a link to this exact same Google Sheet on Schoology that you can open up and make your own copy and work along as I do. I think it's a really good idea if you do that. So I'm going to go through just basic writing of formulas. So this first tab here, so I've got three tabs if you look at that bottom. First tab, just basic calculations. So this first one says write a formula that adds the values 124 and 821. So I'm going to enter all of these in these yellow squares here. We call these cells. So you might think to just type 124 plus 821 and then hit enter. Okay, it didn't do anything. Well, here's why. Google Sheets does not understand that you want it to perform a calculation. So what you need to do is before you write any calculations or formulas, you always have to start with an equals sign. So if I type equals and then I have that same thing, all right, it writes the sum of those. Now let's suppose that I wanted to write a product. So I would always start with equals 124. And then the little star button, if you hit the shift key and then the number 8, that'll come up. So 124, 821. All right, that's the product. Now again, if you did not have that equals, it's not going to do anything. It'll just show that expression without the final value. You need that equals to start off a formula. If you want to write a division, start off with equals 124 divide 821. Okay. And if you want to take the square root, type equals, and then you're going to type SQRT, square root, and open some parentheses, and then you just type in that number, 75. Okay, so that's a square root. Now that's nice, but that's going to take a long time, and why would we use Google Sheets if we could just use a calculator? It's even a little quicker using the calculator. So the reason why is with Google Sheets, you can use formulas to reference any cells, which means you can change values and it will automatically update the end result that you want. So let me show you how that works. So in this next tab, we'll look at that. So here, I want to write a formula that adds any value in B4, so B4, to any value in C4. So like, let's say I wanted a 70 here and 921. What I want this to do is add those two values together. So I'm going to hit the equals button, and then I can just either click on or I can arrow over to this cell here. That's going to say take whatever's in cell B4 and then that plus operator plus C4. Hit enter. All right, 991. Now if I want to change those numbers to say 25, it automatically updates that sum. The same is going to go for any other operation like multiply, divide, etc. So I want to take any number here. How about, say, 427 and 113. I want this to multiply any numbers that appear in those cells. So hit that equals button. I'll say B9, and then the times operation, C9. And as I mentioned, the benefit, let's say I want to change that to a 2. Automatically updated. Say I want to change that to 65.21. Automatically updated. Same goes for division. So you might guess equals. You don't even need numbers there. You can arrow over, dot, divide, whatever that is. So and they're giving me an error here, division by 0. That's because it assumes that there's a 0 value and we don't divide by 0. So let's say we have 125. It should be a 4. Yeah, it is. And like I said, you could change that to any number that you want. It automatically updates that value. Same goes for square roots. So equals SQRT. Open those parentheses. Now here we would normally type in a number, but I want it to reference whatever is in this cell C19. So I'm going to click there, or I could have also arrowed over. Make sure you close those parentheses, and then you're going to hit enter. Okay, 0. That's because there's nothing there. How about 225? You should know that one. Or 289, or 625. Whoops. 625, as long as I type it in that cell, because my formula is referencing that cell. Notice I could type anywhere over here, 7, 12. Nothing's happening because my formula does not reference those cells.